Welcome to the Get Published podcast, sponsored by Brody Consulting Group. To get more information about our publishing and coaching services, go to getpublishedpodcast.com. Hello, I am Paul Brody, and thank you for joining us for another episode of the Get Published podcast, where we help authors get published with a proven system that works. Today, we're being joined by Ryan Ray, author of Careers in the Oil and Gas Industry. Ryan, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me.
Are you ready to get started?
Oh yeah, I'm ready. Let's hop in.
All right, question number one. What is the one piece of advice that you would give to a first-time author who is currently writing their book?
Outline. That's really was a big thing for this book. This project was a very detailed outline of the parts and the segments, the subsections, if you will, that we wanted to go through in the book. We had a very extensive outline for this book, and without it, probably wouldn't have got the project done.
And what do you feel is the hardest part about getting published?
Yeah, I think it's a fear thing. You know, if you look at it, I consider myself someone who's decently self-aware, so I know what I know what I don't know on some level, and so but you're not always sure where your competencies are, and you might feel that you're decently good at this, or you compare or you measure okay to this, but you're not sure how a publisher or how an editor or how someone who may critique your work would look at it, and overcoming that fear, talking to people, and kind of walking through that process was that's always something that's kind of hard to put yourself out there.
And how did you publish your book? Was it a traditional publisher, or did you do it yourself?
Yeah, so what we did in the book that we put out, there's only a handful of publishers that would entertain a book of this of this order, and so we looked at those. We looked at what they had out, and we looked at a self-publishing thing, and we opted for self-publishing mainly for the reason that we wanted to be critical of certain elements of the industry or certain things inside of the industry. It's not unique to oil and gas, but any industry. And so we were afraid that if we went with the traditional publisher, we would have to kind of roll back some of the stuff that we said there. And it went overly harsh, but if your publisher is also sponsored by a big oil and gas company, they're going to be less likely to want you to be critical of a big corporate environment, if you will.
Yeah, I agree completely. That's the reason that, with my books, that I did it myself and then created my own publishing company, because we basically we give our clients full creative control, because I think that's one of the biggest things that you need to have when you have your book out there, is to have that creative control and to make sure that the publisher that you work with doesn't have any types of conflicts of interest, as you mentioned.
No, I think that's exactly right. And again, it wasn't like we were just hammering the industry. We're pro-industry guys, but it was a deal where we looked at it. We said, we want to talk about the corporate environment. I work for a lot of companies or a lot of people who work for big oil and gas companies. I hear their complaints and I hear the problems that they have with that. I work for a small business, and I know the frustrations that people on this side of the aisle have. So you want to kind of lay that out there. We're trying to give someone the tool set to figure out how to navigate their career, and so you got to kind of lay it out there fairly. But you got to also be honest. Say, hey, you know what? If you go to a big corporation, there are HR problems. There are these things that you might get in a rat race, and it might be more of a favoritism thing. So we want to be able to kind of tease that out without fear of being restricted.
Absolutely. Well, let's talk about marketing. So please share a marketing strategy that you have used in your book launch that worked well.
Yeah, so we have, I have a handful of oil and gas or energy-related podcasts, and I've been doing those for probably at least a year, maybe 2 years, depending on the show, leading up to the book launch. And so we used those to help launch them. During that time, I also was on Instagram. I created an Instagram channel for one of the shows, and I was on Instagram. I did a live show every day, 6 days a week for like 2 or 3 months, kind of digging deeper with my audience, because as you know, doing a podcast, you can look at your download numbers, but you're only hearing from a fraction of those people. So I went to Instagram to kind of connect with people on a different level. And I did that for a lot of reasons, and the book was part of it. And there's other things that we do that I wanted to connect with people on. So I went to Instagram, did a live show there, and that allowed me to DM people, talk to people. And then when the book came out, I had a kind of a natural built-in core audience that I could go to and say, hey, the book's out, would you consider buying it? And it was able to get us on the bestseller list.
Well, you mentioned the Instagram channel, so could you tell our listeners how that process works?
Yeah, so we just created Texas Oil and Gas Podcast Instagram channel, and at the time, I think I had 3 or 4 posts up there. I'm not a big poster on Instagram or social media in general. I'll post some things out there, but the live channel, I had someone partner with me to help me put out some regular Instagram type, photos and memes or whatever post. We launched a hard hat sticker campaign. We're giving away hard hat stickers, and so we'd have people take a picture with our hard hat sticker, and we'd put it on our Instagram page. So we kind of were building that, and then I just went live every day. I'd go pick 2 or 3 stories, either at lunch or at night or in the afternoon, whatever it was. And I would go live for 20 to 30 minutes, but I'd also allow the audience to interact. And so if they were talking, we would talk, and that kind of really changed the focus. It wasn't Ryan, who's on the podcast, who's far removed. It was, hey, here's a guy who's at his house. He's talking to you right now, and if you shoot him a DM, he'll shoot you one back. And so I really built a deeper rapport with that segment of the audience.
So were these considered, these weren't necessarily considered Instagram stories. They're actually going live on your Instagram channel. Is that correct?
Yeah, that is correct. We would do the story to kind of promote the Instagram live show. Hey, the show's today, or this may be what we're talking about this afternoon. But really, it was just a live stream. I bought a little Rode mic to plug into my phone, and it was interesting. I had people that were willing to come on as guests and stuff, and so I'd bring people on. We do dual screen. Had a lot of fun with it. I would like to get back to that again in the future, but it's just been kind of busy these last few months. But yeah, it was a live stream every day, 6 days a week, even on Saturdays.
So it was essentially like a Facebook Live, but for Instagram.
That's exactly right. And what I found is the people who found us there, first off, some of those people didn't know the podcast existed. They thought that show was the podcast. So I could say, hey, I've got this podcast, go listen to it. But the other thing is that the people that were there, I would encourage them to DM me. And so when we got to talk about the book was coming out and the various projects that we're working on, you have people that you might never meet, but you have their DM, and they can DM you back. And so it makes it's not where you're signing up for, hey, go to this website, sign up for an email list. It's right there. There's your pictures. There's your face. There's you talking to them. If they hop on your live stream, you can interact with them. So very much like a Facebook deal. I just chose Instagram because the person that I have helped on social media, she's kind of an Instagram savant.
Well, and you mentioned a great strategy, and you're actually our first guest on the show that has mentioned that specific strategy. We talked about Facebook Lives before, but we've never really dug into doing Instagram Lives, and that's why I wanted to get a little bit more information about that. It's a great strategy.
Yeah, we liked it, and we still, we have a sponsor that gives away the hard hat stickers, so we still get a lot of people who take our hard hat stickers, they take pictures, they send it back to us, we put it on the Instagram page, they'll send us a DM when we're out and about in public. I'm going to a conference for some Texas Oil Group veterans on Friday, and we'll have people there that have heard of the show, have seen us on Instagram. To me, it really kind of removes the barrier of, right now, you can't see each other's face. We're on this audio. It's the same for the listeners. When you're on Instagram and you're live, if you're live anywhere, it's a lot less formal. People can come and they can kind of talk to you, and to me, it develops a better fan base, in my opinion.
And you also mentioned about a sponsor. So you had a sponsor for the book, or how did that work exactly?
No, so what we did was we partnered with someone. Our show, one of my shows was growing really rapidly at the time, the Texas Oil and Gas Podcast, and we wanted to get on Instagram to kind of connect with these listeners. And so we tried to figure out how can we grow an Instagram page, and we reached out to a U.S. Safety Sign and Decal is their name. We said, hey, I tell you what, we're looking to send out hard hat stickers. In exchange, people will have to sign up on this, on this landing page. We'll give you the data if you'll provide the stickers. And they said, okay. And so what happened was we built this database of people over the course of 3 or 4 months that we could market to, talk to, email, whatever. But we did it through social media. We did it through Instagram. So they were first seeing our pictures of we take a picture of the sticker. The stickers, hard hat stickers for oil and gas people in the field is a really big deal. So we take a picture of them. Say if you want one, click on this link, sign up for it. We got their information now. And they would send us back a picture of the sticker on their hard hat on the job site. So then we would upload it to our Instagram and we'd tag them. And so you're starting off with giving them something free. The sponsor's excited because they've got their own sticker on there, and you're connecting with them on Instagram. And once you connect on Instagram, as you know, you can DM them, you can talk to them, you can make it very, very user friendly, very convenient to interact with the audience. And that was how we grew our audience while we were doing the live show. So it was kind of a dual campaign we were running there to get things moving.
And how were these stickers mailed? Did you guys do that, or did the company do it?
So they there was three parties involved. There was a sponsor, and there was myself, and then the lady who runs my Instagram. And what they agreed to do is to put three stickers on a sheet. Mine was one. Hers, she has her own little Old Country Media is what it's called. She has Old Country Media on hers, and they had theirs on one. And so they provide the stickers. Old Country Media provide the postage, and I got the free sticker out of the deal. So it worked out really well with me. But we all offered value because U.S. Safety Sign and Decals is a great company. But their social media at the time wasn't up to snuff. They were kind of getting new to social media. Well, you have Kristen, Old Country Media, who's very good at that. Me, I have a podcast audience. I have listeners who I'm already engaging with, so I could bring the listeners. Kristen could bring the Instagram experience, and U.S. Safety Sign and Decal could bring the sticker. So we all brought something to the table, and we all had a way to help each other out. So it was and we still work together today. They still are our Hard Hat sticker sponsor, and so it's a relationship that we built that was kind of, we all had something for each other, and we can kind of help each other out through different means.
And you did not have to send the stickers yourself, correct?
No,
That's
Kristen,
great.
Old Country Media, yeah, she sends them all. It's the best. I got the best end of the deal. I'm not gonna lie to you. I got the best end of the deal. I'm so thankful for all those people. They are so great and helped me with everything. But and so in return, we have U.S. Safety Sign on our podcast, and Kristen's tagging on social media. So it's opened up other opportunities for us for other things that we've looked at. And but it's really simple. They're trying to, they're wanting to sell their signs and their safety signs and safety decals. And we have an audience that is in that business. They're already there. And so Kristen is into the oil and gas marketing business. So we all kind of work together, and it worked out really well for us.
Cool. Well, thank you for sharing that. As I mentioned prior to the show, the one question I always like to take a deep dive into is the marketing. I wasn't kidding about that.
No, I love it. It's great. I love it.
Well, let's talk about your favorite book. So, what is your favorite book, and what is the number one thing that you learned from it?
Okay. I hate to be that guy, but I'm gonna be that guy. I've got two.
That's fine.
And I got, you know what? I got a thought on books. Books are kind of like children. Your favorite books, you love them all. I've got a lot of books that I really enjoy. I've got 3 kids and one on the way. I don't really have a one favorite, but I'm gonna give you two, and for two different reasons. The first one is It by Stephen King, and the second one is the novelization of Star Wars Episode 2. And so the reason for It was when I listened to it on Audible. I went through it on Audible, and I was blown away that someone could write at the depth that he wrote in that book. He would go to dreams inside of dreams and all these backstories, and I'd never experienced someone write something like that. It was just mind blowing, just how he kept it all together and how you could follow along, and it was amazing. The backstories and flash forward, flash back, all that. It was amazing. The second thing was Star Wars Episode 2. I love Star Wars. One of the criticisms of the prequels is that Anakin Skywalker in the movies, spoiler alert if you haven't seen those movies, he turns to Darth Vader in 3, but they feel that a lot of people criticize the movie saying, hey, it's not really evident. There wasn't enough to push him over the edge. And the novelization of that movie really, in my opinion, clarifies that. It answers a lot of questions, and it goes to show that books usually are better than the movies, and this, I think, is a great case of that.
Always. There are very few that I think ever really matched it. I think the closest one would probably be Godfather and The Godfather Part 2. And honestly,
Right.
I don't see anything else at that level.
Right. And isn't that just one big Godfather book, or are there separate Godfather books? I know I've listened to it a while back. Did they break that into 2 books or one book?
There are multiple books based on Godfather.
Okay.
And, they made The Godfather Part 3, and unfortunately,
Right.
this is actually one of the running
Right.
jokes, is that you have people say, I've seen The Godfather 1, 30 times, and Godfather Part 2, 40 times. I saw The Godfather Part 3 once.
Right. Or half a time.
Yeah. So, and I know this is a little bit of a fun one too, because I know this is the one we talked about before the show, and that is, what is your favorite quote and why? And I know you definitely have a different answer for this one.
Yeah, so I'm not a big inspirational quote person. It's not really my deal. I was saying offline, I like to, I joke around with quotes. One of my favorite quotes, if I'm going to pick one for a joke, is, I think Abraham Lincoln said, 85% of all things on the internet are made up, or something like that, or 85% of the things on Google are true. There's some kind of meme about Lincoln and internet, and I appreciate stuff like that. I love random Mike Tyson quotes. Like Mike Tyson, there's a big long rant. He's getting ready to fight Lennox Lewis, and he just beat someone, and he said, Lennox Lewis, you think you're Alexander? No, I'm Alexander. And I just thought that was great. It's just hilarious. I mean, I don't know, my defense is impregnable. He's got all these little sayings. So stuff like that, I don't have inspirational quotes on the wall, or, I don't subscribe to stuff like that. I'm not against it. It's just not my deal. But I like quotes that I like that make me laugh, or stuff like that. So the Lincoln about being face statistics is one of my favorites, though.
Yeah, I always joke around. People ask me my favorite philosopher, and I say, well, my favorite one recently is Mike Tyson. They're like, Mike Tyson?
Yeah.
I said, yeah, because, as
the
great Mike Tyson once said, everyone has a plan until they get punched in the face.
That's exactly right.
It just always gets such a good reaction.
That's exactly right. No, I know it. It's good. And I manage fighters, and they always, they will actually bring that up, and it's kind of funny to hear them use that quote to validate what he said.
Absolutely. It's definitely an entertaining sport, to say the least. Well, Ryan, I want to thank you for being a guest on the show. What is the best way for people to find you online?
Yeah, so if you're on, if you want to reach out, I'm on Instagram, I'm on Twitter at Ryan Ray Sr. That's RyanRaysr. If you're on LinkedIn, you can search my name, Ryan Ray Sr. Ryan Ray on LinkedIn. You probably get a hit. Those are the best spots to find me. I'm not super active, but I am there.
Well, Ryan, I want to thank you again for being on the show, and I wish you all the best in your author journey ahead.
Thanks for having me today. I really appreciate it.
Thanks again for joining us today. To learn more about how to get your book published with a proven system that works, grab a free copy of my book at getpublishedpodcast.com.